What's up, friends? It's time for our weekly dose of paranoia. I've found some incredible stories on r/letsnotmeet that serve as a powerful reminder to always trust your instincts. Thank you for joining me. Now let's hear what happened. Aren't ATMs supposed to be like urinals, especially at 1 a.m.? Confused by this 4 out of 10 creepy level interaction. I'm a female surgeon. Becomes relevant in a second. Genuinely not trying to be a conceited jackass here, who was working late tonight. After work, I went to the bank in a relatively well-to-do neighborhood to deposit checks. I was going into the ATM lobby, which has large glass doors that overlook the parking lot. You have to use your bank card to badge in to the lobby. As I was going in, a tidily dressed man, think 40s, going for a nice dinner with friends in a semi-casual blue button-down shirt and nice dressed-up jeans, is trying to walk in behind me and smiles at me. But because I'm a female alone, I close the door behind me, even as he's attempting to get in to force him to use his key card to get in. He badges in successfully and does some transaction at the ATM next to me. Usually ATMs are like urinals, you don't really talk to the person next to you, but he glances at me and smiles and asks, "Are you doing okay?" I definitely don't look like I'm doing okay because I just got done with surgery, it's 1 a.m. and I'm exhausted, and my scrubs are untucked with some food stains from trying to eat in the car while driving back, and hair's amassed from a scrub cap, making me look, honestly, a little frazzled mom nurse down and out on their luck. Nothing wrong with moms and nurses, or anyone down and out on their luck, just that I have a feeling on reflection that that's what he assumed I was. I just say one line in response, which is that I just got off work and I'm trying to sort out my deposits. He smiles and says, "Oh, okay," and laughs. I leave the lobby, and shortly thereafter he exits. I find my missing check in the car and go back in to complete deposits, at which point he shows up at the window and starts tapping on it. He is holding a fat wad of cash that has to be like 1K in hundos and keeps gesturing for me to come to the door while smiling. At this point, I'm really confused and I'm like, what is going on? Why isn't he just badging in himself? Is he offering me cash? Maybe it's because I look like a stretched for money, frazzled mom nurse down and out on their luck. Nothing wrong with moms and nurses or anyone down and out on their luck, just that I have a feeling on reflection that that's what he assumed I was. I just say one line in response, which is that I just got off work and I'm trying to sort out my deposits. He smiles and says, "Oh, okay," and laughs. I leave the lobby, and shortly thereafter he exits. I find my missing check in the car and go back in to complete deposits, at which point he shows up at the window and starts tapping on it. He is holding a fat wad of cash that has to be like 1K in hundos and keeps gesturing for me to come to the door while smiling. At this point, I'm really confused and I'm like, what is going on? Why isn't he just badging in himself? Is he offering me cash? Maybe it's because I look like a stretched for money, frazzled mom nurse. Maybe he's trying to avoid startling me since he may have picked up that I was trying to be safe since I closed the door on him the first time. That's all I could really come up with. I kept shaking my head no, because I'm slightly weirded out, and also because I don't need money at all and would never take it from a stranger. At that point, he seems to acknowledge I'm not interested, smiles, and leaves. By the time I finish my deposit and go outside, his car is gone. I'm left feeling a little unsettled by the whole interaction, and I'm not sure why. Was he really just trying to offer me money and be kind because he thought I needed it? Or was he trying to entice me outside? I can't figure it out. I'm not super cute or anything, just your average, mildly overweight, short, middle-aged female surgeon. Something about his smile was making me uncomfortable, though. Like, it was just a little too wide and grinny. Am I just skeeved out because it was 1 a.m. and not many people were around? I kept my card and my account number well hidden, but it did cross my head he was maybe trying to steal my account number. Nothing is super wrong and scary, and as I wrote, there are a million non-nefarious explanations for this encounter. Just wanted to get people's feedback. Thanks.
7th grade stalker. So this is a very long story.
My old middle school does this thing called a candygram, and you pay for a note and a candy to be delivered to a friend. This was usually during the holidays/fundraising season, and overall, I never really got one. Yeah, I have plenty of friends, but what kind of middle schooler is going to pay $5 for that kind of stuff? Halloween of 2022, I was in my first class of the day, advisory, and like every other year, they were passing out these candygrams. Imagine my surprise when one was given to me. I initially assumed it was from my best friend and that he just wrote something stupid. Nope. Instead, it just said, "You are cute, love anonymous." I was elated. Nobody ever had much interest in me at that point, and the thought of someone going out of their way and spending money on me was very flattering. I show my friends an advisory and then move on to the next class. Except this time, someone knows who Anonymous may be. They say this girl in their advisory has a massive crush on me, but they won't tell me who. After a bunch of guessing, I settle on one person. Her name is Trisha, and she is a friend of a friend. Up to that point, I had only talked to her once during a gym period, and I had to be reminded of what she even looked like. The day goes on, and we have a Halloween assembly. Everything is normal. On my way out of the gym, I look behind me to see if any of my friends are nearby, and lo and behold, Trisha is standing behind me. The reason I remember this so vividly is because she slipped on a purge mask as soon as we made eye contact. I sound like a bad horror author, but I shit you not, that is what happened. Needless to say, I ran away and did some legendary trick-or-treating that night. The next day, I opened my locker to a pink folded-up piece of construction paper. It is a poem. Roses are red, violets are blue. You are for me, and I love you. Secret lover. I'm looking at it as I type this right now. I run over to my friend and we are both bent over laughing because what the hell? The next weeks, I have about 2 notes in my locker every day, but here are the worst. I watch you at your house because I can just imagine how our house would look like when we are married. What? Your feet probably smell amazing. From the watcher. She's never even been near my feet. Hi love, it's me. I love you, have a nice day. From stalker. Why would you ever call yourself a stalker? Most times my friends would see her slip the notes into my locker during passing period, and once I even saw her do it myself. In about a week, all my friends know every detail of this fiasco, and they all found it pretty funny. Honestly, I did too. Remember that friend of a friend? Well, her and I are very close, and she lives within 5 minutes walking distance of my house. She said when her and Trisha were hanging out, she kept bringing me up and asking questions about my family. Then she asked if my friend would show her my house. My friend insisted that she wouldn't, but Trisha was persistent. No matter how many times she said no, Trisha would ask and ask. My friend never did tell her my address, and she kicked Trisha out of her house. That same friend added me to a Google document that Trisha's friend group used to talk throughout the school day, and every single thing was about me. What I was wearing that day, who I was walking with, and how Trisha and I would make such a good couple. Trisha even wrote down my mom's license plate numbers in the doc. I wish I had screenshots, but even if I did, I don't have that device anymore. Mind you, I was 12 at the time this was all happening, so I was very stupid and I make my presence known in the doc. I don't exactly remember what I said, but it was something along the lines of, "What the hell?" I add my best friend to the document and he starts putting on a performance claiming that we are a couple and Trisha needs to back off. Trisha says sorry and it is all quiet for a few days. I go back to the doc to see if anything else has happened, but now it's just Trisha and I in it. She tells this story of how she was up all night crying while writing me an apology/love letter and how she threw it in a fire. I have no clue why she felt the need to share all of this. Now I decided I was going to the counselor. I'm sad to admit that up to that point, I thought it was all really entertaining, but something about her burning things fucked with me. After I tell this whole tale to the counselor, Trisha gets pulled out of class. But guess what? They didn't delete the document. I'm still baffled that all she got was a reprimand, but was still left with a way to contact me. She says a bunch of weird shit that I've blocked out at this point, but I remember her saying that when they said my name during her getting into trouble, if you can even call it that, she had a huge pit in her stomach. Needless to say, I removed myself from the doc and didn't give her any more attention.
Mind you, throughout this whole thing, I had never spoken to her in person. She continued to stare at me during lunch the rest of the year and ask people really weird questions about me, but thankfully that has stopped now. We're in high school. I occasionally see her in the halls, and I just walk as quickly as I can past her. Trisha, let's not meet.
Had a creepy hostel roommate, didn't realize how bad it was until the last day. A few years ago, I was solo traveling in South Korea after finishing a semester abroad in Japan. I was 21, still pretty naive and carefree. My friends had already flown home, so I figured I'd explore Seoul on my own for a few days before heading back to Japan and then home. I booked a hostel in Gangnam, a safe neighborhood, which had good reviews. But I made one big mistake. I booked a mixed dorm. I thought mixed meant a blend of people, but when I got there, it was just me sharing a room with 5 men. I told myself it was fine. I was just there to sleep. Most people in hostels are chill anyway, right? For the most part, that turned out to be true. I even went out for dinner with 2 of the guys staying there, and they were really nice. But one of them gave me weird vibes from the very beginning. Something about him just felt off. I tried to brush it off, thinking that maybe he was just awkward or shy. I didn't want to judge too quickly, so I stayed friendly but kept my distance. Still, the red flags kept stacking up. Every morning when I got ready and did my makeup at the little vanity table, he would just stand behind me, staring silently through the mirror, not saying anything, just watching me. When I asked if he needed something, he'd always say no and keep watching until I got visibly uncomfortable and irritated. He also kept asking me when I planned to shower. Why? Even though we had shared but separate bathrooms with stalls, no reason he should be concerned about my schedule. He'd always ask what I was doing each day and wanted to hang out constantly. I politely declined every time. Then one day, I randomly ran into him at a subway station nowhere near the hostel. I had just visited Duksugun Palace, and when I was about to head back, there he was. I played it off, but it made me uneasy because what were the odds? I kept telling myself I was just being paranoid. I didn't want to cause drama, and honestly, I was still dumb and trusting back then. But my last morning was the last straw for me. I woke up early, still half asleep, and drifted back to sleep. The next time I opened my eyes, he was sitting by my bedside, leaning over me, stroking my face and my shoulder. I shot up immediately and was like, "What the hell are you doing?" He didn't give me a real answer, but just mumbled something vague. I felt sick to my stomach. I got up, packed my things, and told him I was checking out. He kept following me around the room, trying to make conversation like nothing had happened. I dropped the friendly act completely and started snapping at him, asking if he wasn't going to pack too, reminding him that his flight wasn't until way later. And then he said, "I really like you." I told him that was inappropriate considering we'd only known each other for 5 days. He replied, "Sometimes you just know." He kept saying he wanted to meet again, maybe in Europe someday. We were both European, and tried to get my number. I refused. He pushed. Eventually, I gave it to him just to get him to back off, knowing I'd block him anyway. Nothing technically happened, I guess, but I still felt disgusting, and I was furious at myself for being polite for so long. But at the same time, being too firm might have triggered something worse. He felt unpredictable. That was the first and last time I ever stayed in a mixed dorm. I've stayed in female-only dorms ever since, and I've never had an experience like that again, thankfully.
Has anything like this happened to anyone else in Marmaris, Turkey? I really need answers about what this man might have wanted. In 2023, I was in Marmaris with my best friend, and on our first night in Turkey around 11 p.m., we ended up at the fun fair by the beach. At first, it felt exciting and harmless due to the fact we just turned 18 and left college. We were just two girls on holiday. But something happened that still sits in my chest to this day. I do not know if I was overreacting or if we narrowly avoided something serious. While we were on one of the rides, I noticed a man staring at us. He was standing nearby the ride, just watching us, specifically only us, with this intense focus. During the ride, my sunglasses fell off my head. When it ended, that same man came up and gave them back to me. I thanked him and walked off with my friend. We moved on to the next ride, and he followed and got on the same ride. And he sat directly in front of us and kept making eye contact with me the entire time. I started to feel genuinely nervous, and I could tell my friend did too. When that ride finished, the man came off, but he stood at the queue of the ride watching us. Me and my friend decided to stay on the ride because now we were genuinely getting scared. We had one token left, so we decided to use it, and while we figured out what to do. During the whole ride me and my friend was on, the man kept staring at us, waiting literally at the entrance of the ride. When the ride ended, I decided to pull out my phone and take a picture of him just for safety reasons. And then when we left the ride, he kept following us around the fun fair. But it kept giving me a terrible gut feeling. And then I looks at my friend and told her when I count down to 3 to take off our shoes and run as fast we can. He literally chased us through the streets. We ran for about 10 minutes. Eventually, we ran into a restaurant and hid. He must not have seen us go in because he kept running straight past. We stayed hidden until we were sure he was gone. What scares me even more is that he had a young boy, maybe 14, 15 years old, with him the entire time. The boy was not walking ahead or playing. He stayed near the man, trailing behind him. Later that week, near our hotel, we saw him again. This time he was on the beach, watching a British woman sitting by herself. My friend and I rushed over to warn her. She was grateful. But I could not shake the feeling that if we had not acted when we did, something terrible could have happened to us. What could he have possibly wanted? Has anything like this happened to anyone else in Marmaris or Turkey in general? What does this sound like to you?